and aren't willing to roll up their sleeves and say, let's work for the common good. So we need to build some non-traditional coalitions. I'll come back and give an example because I think one occurred in the context of environmental regulation. So engage, help form coalitions to do things. And the third is measurement and accountability. We need to do more with less because the overall cost of being in Los Angeles, cost of being in a region is high, in part because we're not efficient in government. We take too much in tax and we don't provide enough service for what we do take, so we need to become more efficient as government. Let me just touch on that second point about unnatural coalitions because it's interesting because it ties together the environmental issues, it ties together business, and it ties together the Indian tribes, believe it or not. So while at the city, one of the things I had to clean up was a mess in our utility because there had been a big debacle over a rate increase. So I was asked by the mayor to oversee it for a period of time. And while there, we were handed a series of regulations by one of the anonymous regulatory bodies that Tony referred to, appointed but unelected, accountable to nobody, which required our utility to reduce its use of ocean water to cool power plants. Put aside the science, let's assume for a moment that's a good public good to do. But the restriction was fundamentally flawed in that they in Sacramento who pulled it all together did not understand that our city and the rest of the state are different balancing authorities for how we use electricity. So the engineering foundation for their law was fundamentally flawed. As a consequence, we got handed a set of rules that would have cost Angelenos $200 million a year. Now you hear lots of numbers in the context of cities and states, but this would have been borne directly by our ratepayers. It would have caused the largest single increase in the history of DWP. I asked where did this come from. It was actually in litigation for 30 years, 7 years of rulemaking. I'm the new guy, so I say, well, great, I don't know what to do with this. So I write a note to every member of city council, the controller, every county supervisor, and say, I need some help. Responses? None. I call a few of their offices. I say, how come there's no response? They say, well, it's a little tricky. Some in the environmental community are concerned. We just don't want to get involved. I go, boy, that's kind of odd. This is going to be the biggest single dollar impact in Angelenos in our economy. You don't want to get involved? So I get together business and labor. We go to Sacramento, and I'm paraphrasing. More or less the response was, if it's just you, Angelenos, good luck. We don't want to get involved either. All right, I come back. My head's kind of spinning because thinking, gosh, I thought we elected all these folks to serve our own needs. Why are they all sitting this one out? So I come back. Someone has a clever suggestion. They say, go see the chief of the Morong Indian tribe. Well, the Morong Indian tribe is not City of Los Angeles, not County of Los Angeles. It's effectively Palm Springs. It's 100 miles from here. I go see the chief. He's pretty direct. He says, why are you here? This has nothing to do with us. I said, I think it does. $200 million a year out of our economy, 2,000 less trips every Friday night Angelenos are going to make when they cash their paycheck, come spend it in your casino, and that's 3/4 of your take is on a weekend when Angelenos come out. I think we have an interest in common. Calls back the next day and says, I appreciate you being direct. I do think we have an interest in common. We'll help. When we back up to Sacramento, they have a lot of firepower. They're uncapped, and when it's in their interest, they'll spend. And we got the problem solved. Now, we got the problem solved in a way which ultimately satisfied the environmental community. Instead of an 83% compliance, we found a way to get to 100. To the mayor's point earlier, there's a lot of capital invested in the utility, so we went from 15 years to 17 years to comply. Hard to measure that difference, especially when we get to 100%. So the environmental community is satisfied. Those who pay the bills in DWP are going to pay the same way they would have. And everybody walked away with a solution. But if you think about it, you've got to get people all at the same table working toward a result. Working toward a result, trying to make a difference, trying to do something. And this is one of those examples where we had political people frozen under the heading of, well, the environmental community has a certain set of issues. We still solved their needs, but we found a way to get the right people in the room, an unnatural alliance of a coalition of political parties, people who cared. Who would have thunk that we had something in common with the Morong Indian tribe? We do in Los Angeles. As they said, you catch a cold in Los Angeles, we get pneumonia out here. So they care, and we've got to find a way to actually get the result if we're going to make a difference.
On that note, unfortunately, this is all the time we have for our panel. But again, we'd like to thank our panel sponsors, Boeing Company and AT&T. Let's give them a round of applause. Again, our track sponsor, Providence Health and Services. Let's give them a round of applause. And Mayor Thompson, Austin Buessner, and Don Alcock. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much. And if I conclude by just saying, as a state senator, I think, again, it's important to have interaction. If you have any ideas or concerns or anything you want to bring to my attention, my cell phone number, call me anytime. That cell phone number is area code 805-573-4196. Again, 805-573-4196. Call me anytime. I really appreciate you coming out today. Thank you.
We'll give Mike regards if you see him. All right.
Please come to Sugarland.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you.
Your district covers Santa Clarita?
It does. It does. In Santa Clarita and, well, redistricting has been in the San Fernando Valley, but in Santa Barbara, Ventura County, and Santa Clarita today. And then I lose Santa Barbara and I pick up the San Fernando Valley and redistricting.
Part where I'm going to be in Sun Valley, or are you going to be in that northern part?
It's everything west of Reseda, and then when you hit Sherman Way, it opens up to the 405 101.
Okay, very
But regardless, I represent you up in Sacramento, whether you're in there or not. Please
Very
keep
good.
in touch.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so
Great
much.
to meet you. Good job. Good to see you. Thanks, sir. Good question. Thanks. Keep in touch.
Awesome.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
I'll look forward to following your campaign.
Such an interesting discussion. My whole idea is that we're going to deal with the culture of outside business person brought in as a customer orientation. Good luck to you. We'll get together for lunch. Yeah. I really love your comment. The other thing is,
I came back before at one of our
sunset idea, whatever it takes to kind of rethink what we do is really understand. I wanted to ask, whatever happened to
I think we participated in making some baskets one time from that. Yes, we had a number of employees. And then I stopped here for the longest time. I don't know